And let me know when we're live. All right, so hello and welcome. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll go live on Instagram too. Hello on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Welcome to another episode of Deportation Defense Live. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here, and welcome to another episode of Deportation Defense Live. I'm your host, Otis Landerholm. It is the 18th of October of 2022, and thank you for joining in. All right? And welcome. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And let's jump right in. Today, our theme is credible fear interviews for immigrants who are not detained. All right? And so welcome, and thank you for being here. So remember, the Deportation Defense Live is here to train, to teach, to inspire, and to empower immigrants who are facing deportation to make the most out of immigration laws, to make the most out of their lives, and to win their cases. All right? That's what this is all about. Are you facing removal in immigration court? Do you know someone who's facing removal in immigration court? Because if so, you know that it is not easy. All right? It is an uphill battle. The laws are against us. And here at the Deportation Defense Live, we are here to maximize your chances of winning that case. All right? Immigrants matter. Immigrants are important. And so we believe in helping immigrants maximize their chances of winning their cases. That's what this is all about. Today, our theme is credible fear interviews for non-detained clients. Thanks to everyone who asked their questions ahead of time. And if you have questions as we go, send them over. All right? And I'll answer them even as we're going. You just text them in and I'll answer them. So before we get into the topic and before we get into your questions, as always, I want to start with an empowerment tip, all right? And so I like doing, I like talking about things that help people go through life more powerfully. And so my question for you is, have you ever had this feeling that life is happening to you and that you're not really in control? And I'd like to pause for a moment and change that story, that life is happening to me and that I'm not in control. Like stop that thinking. All right? Pay attention if you think those thoughts in your mind. Last week, I was reviewing a declaration and I was reviewing a case from my team. And basically what I got from this particular client as they were declaring and writing out their story, it was like, why did you enter the United States? Because my parents told me to come to the United States. Why did you get into immigration court? Because the police were following me because they didn't like my car. Why did you get a DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol? Because I had drank a beer because my friend was turning 45 and invited me out to drink, and then the cops pulled me over because they didn't like my car. It's like, why did you do what you did? Because somebody else did something else. Like, stop it. Stop it. All of that thought process, it's victim thinking. All right? Why did you do what you did? Because of somebody else? Stop it. All right? Take control, take ownership of your own actions. You chose to do what you did. It wasn't somebody else's choice. It starts with owning that you are the one in control of your actions. You are the one in control of your decisions. All right? Why did you enter the U.S.? Because my parents told me to come to the U.S.? No, that's not why. Maybe they told you, but that's not why. all right? You came because you chose to come, all right? You came, maybe your parents told you and you thought about that, but then you also thought about, yo, my hometown is a disaster, and my parents are gone, and my siblings left, and I don't have a job, and of course I chose to come to the U.S., but it was my choice. It wasn't somebody else's choice. It was mine. I'm in control of my life, you get it? No one else made me do it. And why did I get a DUI? I mean, this is hypothetical now, right? Because I was an idiot. That's why. Because I chose to drive home after drinking that beer instead of finding some other way. Instead of calling my wife, asking her to come and pick me up because I know she would have been upset. So I made the stupid choice to risk it. Right? That's taking ownership. That's not making excuses. That is not being a victim. That's choosing to take control of your life. Stop giving control away. That's my empowerment tip. Stop giving control away and instead take full ownership of the choices and the decisions that you make and of the way you think about your choices and your decisions and what you have done in your life. Like, you are in control. And that's a powerful place to come from. All right? Even when it's, Judge, the reason that happened is because I made a choice and it was the wrong choice. Right? Even if it's, Judge, I've regretted that choice every day every time I wake up for the rest of my life, I regret that choice that I made. But I made that choice, right? Because I was in control. It wasn't somebody else that told me to do it, and now pity me because I'm a victim. No, I made the choice to be there, and I'm sorry that I made it, and going forward, I have learned something, and I will never put myself in that situation ever again. Right? Sometimes that's the thing that the judge is wanting to hear. Sometimes approaching issues from the past in that way is the difference between winning and losing. I've seen it. I've seen it in court. All right? I'd like to just share it today. So anyway, thank you for listening to my empowerment tip. Hope it was useful. Hope it was helpful. You know, that's real, everybody. It's real. And everybody goes through processes like that. Oh, why has this happened to me? Oh, because that dude cut me off in traffic. No, I reacted to that dude cutting me off in traffic, and I shouldn't have. And now I know to control my own reactions. Or whatever the situation is. Anyway, it happens to all of us all the time. Catch ourselves the way we are thinking about things and take your own control back over your own actions and reactions. You'll have a more powerful life. Okay, anyway, thanks everybody. Thanks for being here. So I want to get into the legal topic today. You ready? I want to talk about credible fear interviews. And normally I'm on here talking about the credible fear process for immigrants who are recently entering the United States and who are currently detained by immigration, okay? But recently, our office has had multiple clients who have gotten released from detention, paroled into the United States even before their credible fear interview. I think because there's a large backlog waiting even for the credible fear interview to happen. And so there's clients that are even like physically present in our office asking about how to prepare for their credible fear interview, and good for them. All right, that is the smartest and most intelligent way to approach a case like this. And yes, sometimes this happens. I would say it's more common that a person is detained while they have a credible fear interview, but sometimes it might happen that a person is released from custody and has their credible fear interview. All right? So if you're not clear what I'm talking about when I say credible fear interview, for a person entering the United States, this is phase one of an asylum process, and you've got to pass the credible fear interview in order to be allowed to go into phase 2, which is the full application process of an asylum case. And just so you're aware, so far this year, there have been over 50,000, all right? The last statistic that I reviewed from immigration says that 50,513 credible fear interviews have been done so far this year, okay? And obviously that number is increasing every day. And so, here's the way it works. If a person was released, all right, they will still need help, obviously, at the credible fear interview stage. But if they're in that situation, they have a serious advantage. All right, they have a serious advantage. They're not detained behind bars. They can go and meet with their lawyer. They can prepare much more effectively than people who are in detention centers are able to do. All right? You can meet with your lawyer in your lawyer's office and meet with them face to face and explain why you're afraid for your life to go back to your country. That just gives you a huge advantage. Okay? So, some things to think about. Normally, there's no way really for a person to prepare documentation at the credible fear interview stage. Normally, there's no way to prepare a full written declaration with your attorney, reviewed by your attorney. Normally, there's no way to find witness statements or country conditions evidence or anything like that. Normally, they don't even consider that evidence at the credible fear interview stage. All right? But if you've been released, you might consider filing all of that paperwork, preparing and filing all of that paperwork to the asylum office even before your credible fear interview. You might consider it, all right? The benefit of that is you can get the ball rolling on your work permit. It might be strategic for you to start the process affirmatively at the asylum office even before you're put into removal proceedings, okay? You can also, the huge advantage is you can prepare. You can prepare and prepare and prepare for your credible fear interview and have an attorney represent you at that interview, which gives you an enormous advantage in your process, okay? Remember that after the credible fear interview is approved, all right, you'll be put into deportation proceedings and you'll be allowed to file for asylum in immigration court. That's what you want. That's the goal of the credible fear interview. But if your credible fear interview is denied, you are allowed to ask an immigration judge to review that denial. But if it's still denied, you'll be ordered deported. So the stakes are very, very high. All right? It's like be allowed to file asylum or be deported. And so that's how big the stakes are at the credible fear interview stage, which is why it's so important to prepare and prepare and prepare and to get a lawyer's help in it as soon as possible. All right? So what's the bottom line? If you've been released, that's a huge advantage. You'll typically have more time and more options to choose a lawyer to help you prepare. Don't waste that time. Don't waste that opportunity. If you're in that situation, please reach out. All right? If it makes sense to contact my office, we're here to help. We'd love to do that. Even if it's not my office, please do find a good asylum lawyer who can represent you at your credible fear interview. Got it? All right. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say for today. Now I want to get into your questions. All right? Mr. Tusk, I see you there. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you. I appreciate you being there. Solange Solera, hello. Kiwi, hello. RMG, hello. Great to see you all on Instagram with me. I've got a question here from Burhan. Burhan, hello. Great to see you. You say, hello. I have filed an I-130 for my spouse. I want her case to be expedited. Is there a way we can make that I-130 go faster? Thank you for asking that question. I-130s are taking a lot longer than they used to take. Unfortunately, there's not a way to expedite them. USCIS posts what their current processing times are, and they're once the case is outside of normal processing times, we can do the inquiry process and the ombudsman process. But before we're while it's still in current processing times, in my experience, there is not a way to ask the government to process an I-130 quicker. Other applications, yes, can be moved to advance. If you're in immigration court, for example, you can ask a judge to advance the case. At the asylum office, there are ways to ask for an expedited process in extreme humanitarian situations. But with the I-130 processing, my experience is there is no way to do that. Okay? And so best advice is to wait for the I-130 to get adjudicated. If that adjudication is outside of normal processing times, we'll do the inquiry and the ombudsman process. I did a whole training about that recently. You can check that out. But unfortunately, that is the way it is. All right? And really, Burhan, thank you for asking that question. You're not alone in that. Almost everyone that is filing an I-130 right now is like, whoa, why is this taking so long? They are taking longer than they ever have. Okay? So I think that's the only question that I've received today. So it's been pretty quiet. Pretty quiet today. If you have a question and if you're watching, hey, please send it in. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and wrap up. I think that we have covered what we need to cover. And so thank you all so much for being here. Oh, okay, Mr. Tusk, thank you for asking your question. You say, if I remove my conditions, if I win the removal of my green card conditions, based on harm or abuse in my relationship, can I file for citizenship within 3 years of of your green card? So here's the thing: the green card, the fast track for U.S. citizenship. Thank you, Mr. Tusk, for asking that question. The fast track for U.S. citizenship says that you have to be how can I say this? In order to win the fast track, the 3-year rule for U.S. citizenship, you have to be living in marital union with, those are the words, in marital union with a U.S. citizen for 3 years, all right? And you can't have divorced your U.S. citizen spouse by the time of your green card interview. And so if you have those situations, if you have those, if you've been living in marital union with your U.S. citizen spouse, then you could, yes, apply under the 3-year rule, but that would be unusual if you're filing the I-751 showing cruelty or abuse from your U.S. citizen spouse. All right, so it would be unusual if you've reconciled or if your spouse has gotten, I don't know, therapy or something like that, and now you're back together. Maybe there could be a way to do that. But typically, I would say most folks in your situation would wait and file citizenship under the 5-year rule, 5 years with your green card. Okay? Mr. Tusk, I hope that was helpful. Thank you for that question. I see a couple of other questions coming in on Instagram, so let me ask those. Lavender, hello. Thank you for asking it. You say, is it true I have invited someone from another country with a fiancé visa that I will be responsible for him for 5 years? So let me clarify that. When you marry, all right, when you marry and file the adjustment of status, the green card, so the fiancé process aside, after the fiancé process, they'll enter the United States for 90 days. You'll have 90 days to get married and then file the green card application. At that time, you will sign the I-864. The I-864 is a 10-year commitment, not 5 years, 10-year commitment, all right? And so you got to be aware of that. So thank you for asking that question, Lavender. I appreciate it. That is the commitment. It's 10-year sponsorship. What you're saying is that you're going to sponsor that person at least 125% of the federal poverty guidelines. all right? That person plus if they have any children. And so, if they theoretically, if they were to get welfare or if they were to rely on public assistance, the government could come after you for that amount, all right? So that's something you want to be aware of. And you ask until they get their green card? No. It's after they get their green card and for the next 10 years until they become a U.S. citizen, if they do. And what you mentioned about the 5 years, after 5 years with a green card, they can apply to become a U.S. citizen, but the sponsorship requirement will stay going until their citizenship application is approved, all right? And so that's something to be aware of. But as I was mentioning to Mr. Tusk earlier, if they're living in marital union with you and you're a U.S. citizen, they can apply for citizenship after 3 years with a green card, not 5. Anyway, lots of things to be aware of there, all right? Lavender, thank you for asking that question. I also see a question here on Instagram from RMG. Thank you for asking that. You say, I have a question about my husband. He is in deportation proceedings. They are charging him with 237A2C, and he's wanting to get out of detention. If deported, is there a chance to bring him back? 237A2C. So 237A2 are the deportability grounds based on criminal history, all right? And so if you're looking at charges like that, RMG, thank you for asking that question. The thing to do is, let's really look at it. Let's really look at what those convictions were, what they're alleging, what the record of conviction shows, and whether or not they're correct in those charges. Sometimes the charges are inaccurate, and we need to deny the charges. Other times there's no way around the charge. But even if there's no way around the charge, sometimes there are applications we can request in front of a judge. Asylum, cancellation of removal, and others. All right, U visas and things like that can work also, not in immigration court, but they can waive some of the various issues that there might be. So RMG, thank you for asking that question. I'd love to look at it in a much more granular way. The way to do that is to call our firm, or if you want my office to reach out to you, we'd love to do that. If you sent us your phone number, we could do that. The better way, if it's public here on Instagram, call our office and let's talk it through. All right, let's talk it through. Our consultations process can help you with that. Okay, so thank you so much for asking that. A.P.C, I see your name on there. How can someone prove about the abuse? Okay, so VAWA, U visa, things like that. So let me explain. Or the I-751 process. I don't know which process you're talking about, A.P.C, or if I'm saying your name right. Sorry if I'm not. A.P.C, thank you for asking that question. Before I answer that, RMG, really, thank you for asking your question. I appreciated it. And you say here also that his initial case was dismissed with prejudice. Okay, well, that helps. All right, so maybe the charges can be dropped, right? And maybe you could apply for cancellation of removal. All right, I'm getting a lot of questions now all of a sudden. This is great. So ECs, how could someone prove about the abuse? Witnesses, if you have them, a police report, if you ever made one, a declaration just explaining. You don't have to have proof in the way that people, you don't have to have video proof or something like that. The credible testimony of the applicant alone can legally work. I'll say that again. The credible testimony of the applicant, him or herself, yourself, can legally work, all right, to win a case. It just has to be credible, consistent, legitimate testimony. You got to describe with words what happened, so much so that immigration could be able to interview you about it, okay? And so that's the way to prove it. And talk to a lawyer, talk to my office. We help people prove it, all right? That's why people hire our office, to help them prove it. Because we know how to explain stuff in a written way, in a chronological way, in a clear way that allows immigration to understand. We've done this 1,000 times. We can help explain a person's situation in a way that immigration gets it and gets that they're eligible for whatever benefit they're applying for. That's what we do. All right, that's what a good immigration lawyer can do for you. Okay, great. So let's see. I'm getting more questions. I love it. So Suadam Jadi, all right, would it cancel her green card? Oh, sorry, you asked first. Hey, if a 10-year-old green card was issued, but the husband took it away from the wife and filed marriage annulments, does that cancel her green card? No. Thank you for asking that question. No, it doesn't. A husband, a spouse, a filing with a family court does not cancel an immigration benefit. All right? And if you're in that situation, like, give our office a call. We'd love to, like, talk you through that. Like a spouse. What if my spouse, I was with a client the other day, and my client shows me a text message of their spouse saying, I'm going to get you deported. I'll say that again. I'm with a client in my office, and the client's in my office showing a text message from their spouse saying, I'm going to get you deported. All right? One, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. A spouse does not have the power to get a person deported. All right? Like, try it. And by the way, if they're my client, we're going to fight for them. All right? Go ahead and try it. All right? We will fight that case. And when someone is in a toxic and abusive relationship where there's cruelty, especially when that person's a U.S. citizen, I mean, check out VAWA, Violence Against Women Act cases. That's what it's for. Got it? Like, you probably have a case. So Swada, I encourage you, reach out. One, you're not alone, by the way. If you have a husband saying stuff like that, like, reach out. Let's get you the advice that you need. Your husband can't just take away your green card. Okay? So, Lavender, oh, yeah, you say thank you. Hey, you're so welcome. Absolutely. RMG, his case was 20 years ago. Okay, yeah, no problem. No problem. We've won cases where things were happening 20 years ago. If so, we got to request all those records, study them, but we can still address it. Swada, by the way, she has police reports that there was domestic violence against the wife. Okay, see, there you go. There you go. Exactly. Right? Exactly. So that's abuse or extreme cruelty. Like fight that case. All right. When he saw that she's alerted him, she was trying to say they didn't consummate the marriage, so blah 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 blah. Like, forget that guy. That guy's a jerk. All right. You can file for VAWA. It sounds like it's a good case. Okay, so Isis, I see your comment there. You got it. Good. I'm glad you got it. If you need help, hey, feel free to give us a call. Everybody, thank you so much for participation in today's live. I love it. I've got to stop and get into the Spanish version. If you speak Spanish, join me in a few minutes. We'll do this in Spanish. And, if you still have a question, heck, send it over. I can still answer it. I'd still love to answer it. But to do that, I'll just upload it to our YouTube channel. All right, and to see those answers, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please give us a thumbs up to this video if it was helpful. Swada, thank you so much for asking your question. Everybody that asked questions today, RMG, Mr. Tusk, Isis, everybody, really, thank you. I'm forgetting one all of a sudden, but thank you. Thanks to everybody for asking your questions today. I love it. Please subscribe to our channels in YouTube. Thank you for being here. My name's Otis Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. We'll see you on the next Deportation Defense Live. And if you have an immigration case, if you need immigration advice, hey, please give our office a call. We are here to help. We would love to help. All right? Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.